So I was thinking about family and what exactly that means. Um, as everyone knows, I'm in a blended family, but I'm just talking about family in general, whether you're blended or you're not blended. There's so many different dynamics in family that ends up causing dysfunction, causing confusion, causing family members to be at odds with one another. And oftentimes you'll be at odds with one another, and the only time you're able to come together is through tragedy. I think that's unfortunate. I think that families should be able to come together on the day to day basis. Oftentimes, what happens is we judge one another, we compete with one another, we force our opinions on the other family member, we talk about the other family member to another relative. It gets back to them, and now there's all sort of chaos. What happened to loyalty? What happened to being there for one another? What happened to thinking about the things that we say? Is it kind? Is it uplifting? Is it encouraging? Is it right? I think if we think about those things when we're interacting with one another, we will build a stronger, healthier family with one another. And it won't just be at a time of tragedy. We will be there for each other on the day to day basis, respecting each other's space, respecting each other's decisions. You don't have to agree with the choices that each other make, but you can respect the decisions that they've made to the point where if there's something that they're doing that you feel that is unhealthy for them, isn't good for them, isn't the right direction for them, then you can go to God and you can pray about it. But to cause the relationship to be strained over a situation that many times absolutely has nothing to do with you. You get to go home to your home, they get to go home to their home, and what you were really battling really has nothing to do with the two of you. You could be battling something as simple as you don't like the fact that the mate that they chose, or what they said to another relative, or what they did years ago when you were growing up, or something happened in your life and they weren't there for you and you've been holding on to this grudge for years, and then relationships are broken. I remember one of the things I used to tell my children is that if you don't learn to get along as siblings, if you don't learn to work out conflict as siblings, when you go out into the world and you have relationships, and even at work, even friendships, you will not know how to handle conflict then. It is absolutely important for me that you learn how to work with one another in the home. I believe that our home is our foundation, and if we don't learn how to work together as family, then how can we work together outside of family? Family is our core. Family is our foundation. We should be loving on one another. We should be there for one another regardless of the circumstance. You may not like the decisions that I've made. You may not like the mate that I've chose. You may not like how I dress my kids, or the school that I sent my kids to, or how I've raised my children, or how I didn't raise my children. But that should not be something that causes division between us. Our opinions of one another should not cause division. If anything, it should bring us closer together. We should be coming together on a day-to-day basis, helping one another out, being there for one another, not using one another, and not thinking of ways where we can be leeches and take from one another, but how can we give back? How can we help one another? We shouldn't just come together for family reunions or for funerals or for graduations. It should be on a day-to-day, week by week, month by month. You don't have to be in each other's business. You don't have to report or feel like that you don't have any privacy. But as family, we should be able to be there for one another. We should be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what? I wanted to know if you want to just hang out, or if you wanted to just go do something, or, get to know each other. I did a post the other day and I said, many of us communicate, but few connect. And that happens often with family. We will communicate. We'll give our opinions. We'll talk to each other. We'll give the latest gossip about what the other relative is doing. But are we connecting with one another? Are we getting to know each other? when we grow up and we have our own individual families, we lose touch with what's going on with each other. And so sometimes we will speculate, or we will, our own perceptions will cause us to have certain opinions of each other. And they aren't things that are really fact, because we don't really know what's going on in their homes. And we assume that, oh, you're not talking to me because, oh, you think you're better than me, or you think you're this, or you think you're that, or, whatever goes on in our minds that's negative, instead of us taking a step back and saying, you know what, I'm not going to think that way. Instead, I'm going to take the time to communicate, to connect. I'm going to take the time to get to know. You could be miles away, but there are so many ways to communicate now. You can Marco Polo, you can Skype, you can email, you can text. A really good friend of mine, they have family group text messages where they just send out group messages, and especially if they have a family issue, it'll be a group message where everybody's on the same page, everybody knows what everybody is saying, everybody's talking about, everybody's giving ideas. Doesn't mean you necessarily have to take it, but at least you know you have family support. That is key. We should have family support on the day-to-day basis. What is our foundation? Family. And if we can't make it right in family, then how is it that we as adults can expect our children to? How can we expect our children to make good, healthy relationship decisions if we can't? If you can't get along with your mom, if you can't get along with your dad, if you can't get along with your cousins, your aunts, your sisters, your in-laws, your uncle, then how do you expect your children to do that? Our children are watching us, and what example are we teaching them about family? Think about that today.